time now, please welcome to our morning show microphones an individual who's doing some great work in our communities, especially when it comes to the citizens who are beyond the age of 50 years old. I like to call it the sandwich community because a lot of people on the younger end of this group are taking care of children, they're taking care of their parents and other family members. Please welcome the State Director for the Twin Cities AARP, Mr. Will Phillips. Good morning.
Good morning.
You have a lot going on, and you're really focused on public policy. And with the midterm elections, you're really busy right now.
Yeah, we are. I think the long and the short of it is that we need people to get out and vote.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly with midterm elections, people stay home. Mm-hmm. They don't see the importance of it. There's not a big glitzy presidential race, and there couldn't be anything further from the truth that midterms aren't important. There's a lot at stake right now in terms of key issues for people of all ages.
So I know that healthcare is also a key issue in terms, I'm seeing questions all over media about Medicare, for example.
Yeah.
This is the open season right now for Medicare and the changes that you want to make. Are your members asking you about Medicare?
Oh, for sure. Medicare open enrollment starts October 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of change in the Minnesota market right now because Minnesota is one of the last states in the country to continue to have these Medicare cost plans. Mm-hmm. And those are going away. And so there's a lot of folks around the state that are going to need to be transitioning from those cost plans to other types of plans, whether they be traditional Medicare with a supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan. And so there are a lot of questions. The good thing for Minnesotans is that the state has a great resource through our Metropolitan Area Agency on Aging called the Senior Linkage Line. Mm-hmm. And those folks are not affiliated with any insurance company. They're just there to give unbiased information about the things that people need to be thinking about when it comes to Medicare. And there's a toll-free number for the Senior Linkage Line, and if I was a good guest, I'd be able to tell you what it is right now, but I suppose maybe at break we can find that number and give it back to folks. But if you're online and doing a search, just look for the Minnesota Senior Linkage Line.
Also, you mentioned just at the outset, there are a lot of issues, there are a lot of concerns with voting in state offices, the governor's office. Talk to the older Americans first. Why is it important for folks who are beyond 50 or even in their 40s to go to the polls?
It's any number of issues. I think we were talking earlier, Freddie and Chantal, we've got an open seat in the governor's office. We've got an attorney general's race. We've got at the U.S. House, all of them are up. Mm-hmm. And 4 of our races in Minnesota are pretty tight. And so really the balance of power in the U.S. Congress could very well rest in the state of Minnesota. We've got 2 U.S. Senate races that are open. Mm-hmm. And so on the federal level, you're looking at issues like Social Security and Medicare. Mm-hmm. And not just for people who are 65 now, but for all of us coming up who need it and need to rely on it.
Right.
So what are we doing to make sure that it's strong now? What are we doing to make sure that it's going to be there in the future? And then for people who aren't yet there, all those issues around healthcare. Mm-hmm. Can insurance companies deny you because of pre-existing conditions? Can insurance companies charge you more simply because of your age? Mm-hmm. A lot of those issues that are important to those members of ours who are not yet 65,
right,
but are 50 or even younger, that are really important. And look, for older voters, it's no secret that older Americans are they're the biggest and they're the most reliable voting bloc. Mm-hmm. They show up year in and year out. But again, during these midterms, a lot of them stay home. We need them to turn out. We need young people to turn out. There's just a lot at stake in these elections, and our polling shows that there's still a lot of undecideds out there. So the flip side of that coin is that if you're running for elected office, you better be talking about these issues and telling folks what you're going to do about them if you want to get their vote.
So are your members telling you, are they asking you about different positions, or does AARP take a position on any candidate or any issue?
That's a great question. So we certainly work on issues, but when it comes to the election, we're a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization, so we don't endorse, we don't give money, we don't have a PAC. Mm-hmm. Our job is to make sure that we're letting voters know where candidates stand on key issues so that voters can make up their own mind. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we did this year in the governor's race is that we produced a video voter guide. Mm-hmm. So if you go to aarp.org/mn, you can see Commissioner Jeff Johnson, the Republican, and Congressman Tim Walz, the Democrat, answer 4 or 5 questions on video about key issues. And so that's an opportunity if you're interested in things like how are we going to solve the elder abuse crisis in our state, or what are we doing to help people save for retirement, or a range of issues. You can go check that out.
So is there any type of specific assistance that you have for older voters that may not be able to go physically to the polls, or that don't know where to go, or they just need assistance? Do you provide some assistance through AARP?
The Secretary of State's office is the best place to go for all of that information. If you do go to aarp.org/vote, you can sign up to get alerts about voting and to find out where your precinct and polling place is and all of that stuff. So you can either do that, or you can go to the Secretary of State's office. Both are going to give you some of the same information. One of the great things about Minnesota is, and I moved here from Georgia, where they've got some fairly restrictive voting laws and some big issues of purging the voter files and any number of things that's really unfortunate, but we won't dwell there. One of the things here is that it's pretty easy to vote. We've got no excuse absentee voting.
Yep.
Early voting started on September 21st. You can go to the poll and have somebody vouch. I mean, you can, it's not terribly difficult to vote here. So we don't have a lot of excuses not to get out. And so if you're interested in understanding where do you go, what do you need, Secretary of State's office is a great place to go, and then otherwise aarp.org/vote.
What is the AARP's position on these multiple IDs that you need to have? Such as you just mentioned, Georgia, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Has AARP taken a position on that?
We have. We opposed it. We opposed it here in Minnesota. It was before I had come to town, but I think it was 5 or 6 years ago. There was a ballot amendment on the, or there was an initiative on the ballot to require photo ID in the state of Minnesota, and we opposed it. We think it's a solution in search of a problem. You talk about voting fraud and scams, and the reality is it's such a minuscule thing, and certainly we need to root it out where it exists. But that's just an effort to keep people from voting, and what we want to see is things to encourage more people to vote.
Right.
We have our We Are You radiothon in effect right now.
We do, and this is definitely the time for our listeners to support the radio station, and you've been a part of coming by and talking about AARP and what you contribute to our older listeners. How would you encourage them to support a station like KMOJ through your organization?
Yeah, we have been, AARP has been. It's not just been me, it's been others who have come here and talked with you all, and as a result have been able to talk to your listeners. And I think that as I think about radio stations, what you all do here is really similar to us. AARP is only as powerful as our members enable us and equip us to be. And I see what you all do here very much in that light. You rely on people to get involved, to support you financially, to listen. And so I think that if you're out there and if you see the value in kind of the collective and in getting involved, then I think, just like you might think about joining an organization like AARP or somewhere else, KMOJ is right there as well.
Right.
And I think those are the parallels that I see. And you all, and this opportunity to come speak to you has been such a key part of what we do.
Right.
If you see value in that, then I think you ought to see value in the both of you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have a final thought this morning, Will, from AARP, or maybe your favorite concert?
I guess my final thought, just to keep the thread going, is the name of our campaign around voter engagement, which is just Be the Difference Vote.
All right.
And maybe it's Be the Difference Vote on November 6th. Maybe it's Be the Difference and vote in terms of supporting KMOJ. But one way or another, get that done.
All right.
Love it. Very well said. Thank you, Will.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Will Phillips, the State Director for Twin Cities AARP, in our studios this morning. And that telephone number, you know what? Let's be electronic about this. Let's be up to date. You can go online right now. You just heard the conversation from Will. We try our very, very best to give you information that you can use, that you can put into action right now. We invite you to get into action right now. You have a smartphone, you have a computer, you're online right now. Go to KMOJFM.com, click on donate. There are several options there. Pick the one that best fits you, and let's make a difference.
All right. Very well said. 8:24.